Hello, my name is Paula Bruno, and I will be presenting to you my capstone presentation of two projects that I was involved in during the course of my instructional leadership degree. This quote resides in me because it really exemplifies that students need someone to identify with. We don't realize it as educators. We spend most of our time with students. We spend most of our time with them more than their biological parents do at some point. So this gives students a reason to strive harder for the leaders or educators that they come in contact with daily. The first project that I did was increasing reading comprehension skills in grades 3 through 5 using the closed reading strategy. Within this project, I had to identify a problem. Within Sylacauga City Schools, as with most schools, reading comprehension is a very big problem. And so we tried to tackle situations to where we could increase this reading comprehension. We know that reading comprehension is not just regurgitating the words that you see on the paper, but reading comprehension is being able to understand the information that it is that you're reading. So we noticed that that was a problem on the reading test. We noticed that that was a problem on the STAR assessment that we utilize here. And we also noticed that as a problem when we did the Dibbles assessment, because the Dibbles assessment, it allowed them to read the information, but then when it come back time for them to tell them about what they read, a lot of students, they couldn't retell what they read. And this is a problem. Not only is it a problem in reading, there's also a problem in math, because most of the time, these new assessments, they're not just dealing with the standard algorithm, they're dealing with a reading problem, and then you have to figure out what it is that you have to do. So that was a problem. The strategy that I chose to focus on was the closed reading strategy. It has 3 components to it. The first component was you had to read through the text one time, just a fresh read, just so that your mind can get into reading the information. The next time you had to go through there and you had to circle any unfamiliar words, any important words, things that you thought were important to know that would help you maybe answer questions. The next time you read it through, that's a total of 3 different times that you're coming in contact with the text. And so the third time that you read it through, you should be more fluent. You should be very familiar with the text. So those are 2 key ways that you can really understand the information that you're reading. And so within this project, I will also offer you the results as opposed to what we were faced with at the beginning, and then what our results were at the end. Previous assessments. In grades K2, you have the Dibbles assessment, you have letter sound recognition, you have all those visual acuity tests, and so students in grades K2 are normally able to see a word and know it immediately. They're also based upon fluency. Students are very fluent with the words. They should be very accurate with the words. However, when you have those type of tests that's all you do is be able to recognize a word quickly, sometimes the comprehension part is a result, it goes lacking. They just want you to be able to see the word and say it immediately. Then, the older that students get, the more interest that we lose. And so if it's something that they're not really involved in, something that's not of interest to them, on top of not being able to fully understand the text, then therefore they lose interest very quickly. So not only did we focus on just closed reading, we focused a lot more on non-fictional text. That means that this is real world information, stuff that really tackles their interest, like in science and history, those type of things that they get really focus and put their hands on. So the problem was previous assessments only focused on just regurgitating the word or the skill. Lack of interest means that they're very uninterested. So by grades 3 through 5, by the time they hit pre-middle school age, that interest goes down really low. So with those 2 things combined, the reading comprehension really went down. This is what the closed reading process look like? You take a text, any text, it doesn't matter whether it's just a standard reading passage or whether it's a science passage, history passage, some type of literature, whatever the text is, because on the different summative assessments like the ACT Aspire, those types of things, you're given passages to read and answer questions. So this helps students to be able to go through the passage and really focus on what it is the questions are really asking. So what it is, you take a text and you read it through fluently the first time. Second time you read it through, you highlight important words, you circle important words, you circle words that you don't know. That way that you can either look them up or you can ask someone for help. Sometimes lower elementary, we do turn and talk, those types of things, and that helps them to focus on not so much as not knowing it, but they're able to collaborate with someone else to help them along the way. These are our results from utilizing the closed reading. At the very beginning of school, you notice that we had 26% of our students were benchmarked in third grade, 30% were benchmarked in fourth grade, and 32% were benchmarked at the beginning of the school year in 2014. So that means that we didn't have many of the students, out of 53 out of 174 were benchmarked. That's roughly half of the students that we have enrolled in fourth grade. And so what we had to do, we had to really figure out, what are we going to do to move these students? What are we going to do to help these students improve on their reading comprehension? Because we noticed that it was not just in reading, it was also in math as well. So we did closed reading weekly with the students. We worked with the teachers to help them understand the importance of doing closed reading. We went to other teachers' rooms, and we gave each other feedback. And so with the pressing and the collaboration between the teachers and the students, we were able to bring up our students to 46%, which speaks volumes considering that we started the year off with 46 students being benchmarked, and now we're at 83. So this shows that this strategy does have some materials in it that does mean that it does work. If you notice that on Watson, these students right here in the blue means that these students are very capable of being benchmarked. They may not have scored it right then, but they're very capable of being benchmarked. So if you add those two columns up, that lets you know that there's well over half of the students that could very well possibly be benchmarked by the end of the year. So this was initial data in August of 2014, and then this was data in May 2015. So I thought that was very great, complimentary of our staff here. The standards that I addressed in my action plan were my continuous improvement, the continuous improvement center, because this allowed me to work with other teachers. We were able to come down and we were able to sit around and we were able to talk about the student data. We were able to use those type of strategies to make sure that things were working in the classroom. We got a chance to see what works, what didn't work within our classroom. I also use teaching and learning standard as well, because we were able to take STAR data that we use, which is an assessment tool that we use. We were also able to use our classroom data when we used our Reading Street books, the classroom assessments. We were also able to take those tools as well and to tell which ones were working and which ones were not. So these were the two standards that were really addressed within that action plan. My second project is my diversity project. This diversity project states that all students within the Sylacauga City School System have an equal opportunity to be successful within our school system. And this is very important because we live in such a diverse society. We have a lot of students that come from various backgrounds, some that are worse than others, and so this helps all students be successful within the Sylacauga City School System. So, Pinecrest Elementary School They are a Title I school, which means over 70% of our students here are enrolled in free or reduced lunch. So this was very important, and for us to make sure that all students that we came in contact with were able to be successful within the school. Some of the programs that I utilize here for the diversity program would be our PBIS system, and this is our positive behavior instructional support team, where we are able to focus on the achievements of students, focus on the positive behaviors. If they do things that are correct, no matter who they were, they received an award. And they are recognized once every 9 weeks. They get medals, they get different prizes, those types of things, and they're really glad to have those type of rewards. Another program that really talks about our diversity program is our PLC, which is our Pinecrest Learning Community. This is where we take the entire school body and we split them among all of the teacher staff here. And they're able to have an adult role model or an adult figure that they can look up to if they have a problem, if they're not comfortable with going to their teacher. Whatever the situation may be, they're able to have an adult that they can come in contact with to help them throughout their school time here. The significance of this is that you're not so much focused on the students who we consider a behavior problem, and you're not so much focusing on the students that are always excelling in academics. This allows each and every student, regardless of race, regardless of age, regardless of ability, whoever they are in this school, they have a part in this diversity program. The standards that I address in this is our diversity standard, where this means that all students are successful, all students are identified, all students are given a safe and orderly environment to learn. The management of my learning organization is another standard. This is where I provide an environment that's conducive for learning. And my ethics standard, this is where the educators are positive role models for these students. This is where they're given an opportunity to relate to someone who they can look up to, who they can confide in, who is there to nurture them and help them academically, someone that they can put their hands on immediately when there is an issue. So these were the 3 standards that were addressed with my diversity project. Here's a list of references that I utilized in my action plan, because there were several different resources that talked about the closed reading, how it was research-based to help the students continue to interact with the text, those types of things, where this is a list of all my references that I use as it relates to that. In the end, I thank you so much for watching my presentation.